So this is a wild take. GoGo comments, treaties are made to be broken. Now this is a comment on my video about the United States 100-year-long colony in Panama around the Panama Canal. So I have to disagree with you there. I don't think treaties are made to be broken. I think treaties are, for the most part, made to be implemented and adhered to. That's why you negotiate a treaty. That's why you go through all the work of passing a treaty and getting it past Congress. In theory, you're supposed to actually do what it says. Now, the United States has a fairly infamous reputation for breaking its treaties with the tribes that originally occupied the land on which we all live. The history is long and dark of the United States government not adhering to the treaties that it put in place with the various tribes. However, very recently, the very conservative United States Supreme Court, sorry, we have a little cat interference here. The very conservative United States Supreme Court sided with the tribes and restored a large part of their sovereignty in Oklahoma. So once a treaty is in place, it is, at least in theory, legally binding. So in that example, we had a treaty that was put in place that we did not obey for the better part of a century, but it's still there. And once a treaty is in place, it is in fact law. And even if it took a century, we did in fact ultimately have to adhere to that treaty. So a treaty is a legal agreement that has consequences. When it comes to our position in the world, our reputation among the countries of the world, agreeing to a treaty and then not adhering to the terms of the treaty has consequences. It has consequences that are diplomatic, it has consequences with trade, it has economic consequences, it has consequences in breaching the trust that the United States has with its allies. And that can have grave consequences. So I don't know exactly what this commenter's point was by saying that the treaties are made to be broken. I'm assuming that they're saying if Trump wants to take back the Panama Canal, he can take back the Panama Canal. I'm not sure exactly which treaty you're talking about, though, because the initial treaty that TR negotiated with the Panamanians, that was incredibly unfair and biased towards the United States, that made us the bully of the block in that situation, that was forced upon them. That treaty was renegotiated in the 70s, and it is no longer in force because the newer treaty is now superseding the older treaty. So the newer treaty is done. Like, what we negotiated in that treaty was the handover of the Panama Canal from the United States to Panama. It's already done. It happened 25 years ago. So I don't know if you've heard the expression possession is 9/10 of the law. That is certainly true in the United States. That's true in international law as well. The Panamanians possess the canal. They have it. So there's no way for us to take the canal back except to go to war with Panama. And the country that we went to war with in the 1980s, when General Noriega was in charge, is not the country that exists now. The country that exists now is a sovereign nation that holds $1 billion business. The consequences of us going in and trying to take the canal back would be insane. They would be really, really grave, because it would make us an enemy of the international community. It might cause our friends and allies internationally to impose economic sanctions on us. It might deeply and devastatingly disrupt international trade by potentially shutting down the canal for a period of time. We no longer have the expertise in canal management. Like the people who worked at the canal are retired, and it was taken over by people in Panama. Like, they're not going to work for us. What, are we going to force people to work the canal at gunpoint? Is that the plan? So this kind of grandstanding that Trump likes to do, it doesn't have a whole lot of logistical planning behind it. He's just saying stuff. And if you think about the logistics of doing this and then the consequences of doing it, it is not in the United States' best interest in any way to go and try and take the canal over. The way that it would be seen by the international community would be truly terrible, and the potential risk to international shipping is grave. The way that Trump's base would feel about him starting a foreign war, I guess people like this commenter would be okay with it, but a lot of his base would not be okay with it. And that's assuming that the war goes well, which I mean, I have a lot of faith in the United States military to be able to do what it sets out to do, but our record of regime change lately has not been great. It's not been great. And that was not us trying to take over a democratically elected sovereign government. So I think it's easy to say stuff like this, but it's not real. It's not real.